Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? I got Chris Swinney from the awesome, let's call it supergroup out there now called Fire Sale. Just a bunch of veterans in the punk rock music scene have come together to create something very special. So I'm excited to have you on the show. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited to be here. And you know, the people throw around that supergroup thing. At the beginning, it kind of made us cringe a little bit, but so many people kept saying it that we just kind of leaned into it, because you got to use whatever you've got to get in front of people, you know?
No, absolutely. And I mean, it is, I mean, supergroup sometimes gets thrown around, but for me, I'll call people supergroups because I've loved everything they've been a part of. And when you come together and form something together that I get to fall in love with, that's when I give you that moniker of supergroup. Because if you were just some dudes from other bands and the music wasn't good that you started, I'd be like, they're just some of the losers from the old bands that weren't any good.
Well, no, and that's the whole supergroup thing is funny because our drummer, Matt Morris, like, he's been in a bunch of bands, but you know, maybe not as high profile as some of the other bands that we've been in. And he always kind of says, "I can't believe I'm in a supergroup." And I'm like, dude, you're the best drummer in the world. Just shut up.
So, I mean, let's get into that right away. How did you guys come together? Because I know it came together, you know, during a crazy time in the world. You know, what was the motivation behind it?
Well, honestly, I mean, the pandemic kind of fucked everything up, you know, like people weren't touring, people weren't really doing anything. But for me, as you know, a dad who hadn't been on the road for almost a decade, the pandemic, as bad as it was kind of a rebirth for me because I had the time to do things that I didn't have previously. Like, my kids weren't going to school and I wasn't working and we were just stuck in our house all the time. And I've got this studio in the back of my house where I do my own podcast called That One Time on Tour. And I just fiddle around with my guitar and whatever. And basically, with all that time on my hands, staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning because time didn't exist during the pandemic, I was just, writing riffs and putting things together and recording and doing crazy guests on my podcast because no one said no because everybody was stuck in their house. And so I started writing songs, and I hadn't really been that creative musically for quite a while. And I wrote a couple songs that I really felt good about. I programmed the drums and I kind of played everything. And Matt Riddle and I, we met back in the late 90s on Warped Tour. And I wouldn't say that we were close, but we were kind of, acquaintances. And Matt's one of my favorite bass players of all time. I mean, Face to Face is one of my favorites. No Use for
Mine
a Name.
too.
No Use for a Name is like God tier band for me. Like the melodies and everything that Tony did. And when you hear Matt's bass playing, it's him. It's signature, And for me, I had these songs. We had recently reconnected when he was a guest on my podcast, and we were texting back and forth, and we were getting to be friends because nobody could do anything, so we're just texting and calling and whatever. And I'm asking him stories about being on the road, and we're just kind of bonding. And I wrote these songs, and the first person I wanted to send them to was Matt. Like, hey, tell me what you think. I've kind of been out of the game for a while, but I'd like to get your thoughts. And he really dug them, and he sent me bass tracks back. And I don't talk about this much, but I didn't play bass on the songs for the mere fact that I had my fingers crossed that maybe he would play bass.
That's a nice sly move.
Yeah, I was like, hey, man, I didn't put any bass on this. So, like, if you like it or whatever, just because I knew he had, like, a way to record at his house. So he sent back bass tracks, and they were the normal Matt Riddle bass stuff that when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, it's Matt Riddle. And so then I got really excited, and my buddy Josh Mann from this band Paper Arms over in Australia, I love that band so much. If you haven't checked them out,
I have checked them out, and they've been in our weekly 3 segment before. So
yeah, they're just amazing. And Josh and I had gotten fairly close during the pandemic too, because he was on the podcast and he didn't really realize how much I loved his band. He thought I was kind of goofing on him. I'm like, no, dude, like I love your band. And he sent me all their records and we were talking, and originally he was going to sing for Fire Sale. He sent me a bunch of demos that he had done. I sent him the demos that I had done with Matt's bass on it. And it just kind of got to the point of where he didn't really have a way to record. He's all the way in Australia. So if something ever happened, it would be really hard logistically, So that was kind of, he wasn't really going to do it. He gave me his blessing. Like he was there right at the beginning when I named the band and everything. But I had worked previously with Pedro, who was in Ann Beretta. He's in the Iron Roses now. He was in a band called Fun Size that used to be a fairly large pop punk band. He's in a band now called Shotclock, which is amazing. It's kind of like his little baby that he does. He writes all the songs and everything. But I hit him up and I was like, hey, man, I'm trying to put this band together. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if anything will ever happen, but I'm bored and we can't leave our houses. And I would really like you to listen to these songs and sing on the songs. You can do anything that you want. So I sent them to him. He really dug it. He wrote lyrics, and he owns a studio also out in Richmond, Virginia. So recording for him was no big deal. And so things started to kind of take shape, but I wanted some more guitar. Riddle and Pedro were like, you got to play some more guitar. You got to play some more guitar. And I was like, man, what if we just got someone else to do it so we could actually like get a real band going? And so I reached out to my buddy Tim from Protest the Hero, and he was down to do it. And then he was also wanted to play some piano on a couple of the tracks. So initially that was kind of what was happening, and we didn't have a drummer. I had programmed the drums, and I wanted real drums, because in case we wanted to release it or whatever. And so my buddy Tucker from Thursday in LS Dunes, he's like, yeah, I'll play on the tracks. So I sent him the tracks. My buddy Brian, who kind of was the guy that mixed the first 2 songs, Brian Churlo, he's out in New Jersey. He's closer to Tucker. he went to the studio, recorded the tracks with Tucker, got them back, and they were really good, but they were still kind of like in demo form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything was there, but it just kind of, it needed more. So like we tweaked a couple melodies, and I added a little bit more guitar. Tim added a little bit more guitar. We did some backup vocals here and there. And when we got done, the tracks that Tucker had sent back, as great as they were, he had kind of just strictly played what I programmed. And we kind of wanted someone to put their stamp on it. And by that time, Tucker was so busy, there was no way that he could be in the band. And he didn't even really have time to recut the tracks. So we got a buddy named Will Ferguson, who lives out in Jersey, to kind of do session work on the first two singles that we released, Dark Hearts and Mercy Brown. And that went over really, really well. And then for a while, my buddy Paul was in the band. His name's actually on the first 7-inch, but he didn't really play on the 7-inch. And then he had an injury. He hurt his back and he couldn't record. And it just kind of kept going back and forth. And it was this joke that in our first video for Dark Hearts, there was no drummer in the video. And people were like kind of saying, you guys aren't a real band, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so my buddy Matt Morris, he used to be in Darlington out of Texas. He was in a band called 41 Gorgeous Blocks, which is awesome. He's in that band Just Like Them, where they do all the All and Descendants covers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen those videos or not.
I haven't seen those videos, no, but I will check them out.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like I got to do one with the guys in Just Like Them, and then Jarrett from Bowling for Soup, another buddy of mine, sang on the song Clean Sheets, and I got to play the Steffen's guitar solo on the track. It was a lot of fun. But that's kind of how I hooked up with Matt Morris, because I had done some stuff with them during the pandemic because everybody was doing quarantine covers, you know?
Yeah.
And I basically just asked him, I'm like, hey, man, would you want to be in Fire Sale? Because I'm sick of looking for a fucking drummer. and he was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, like you can cut it. You're awesome. You're an amazing drummer. So he cut the drums to the last two singles that came out of Fool's Errand and We Dance for Sorrow. He became a permanent member of the band, and that's where we are today. Solid lineup and working on things for the future. We just played our record release show down in Dallas, Texas last month, and we cut a video for Fool's Errand. Like it's a real, I put up on the internet, I said, Fire Sale is a real boy now.
We're not all the strings.
Yeah, we're not a project. We're not a pandemic band. We are a real band. We're on a record label. We got stuff coming out. We just cut a professional video where we had a whole crew. Like it feels more real than it used to. It's a real thing now.
Well, I love to hear that, because when I heard the first track a couple of years ago, I was so disappointed because there was nothing else, right? That's the way the world today is. You know, you get a couple singles that are out there, and the way I do it, as soon as I hear a song I like, I dive directly into the band. And as soon as I saw who was a part of the band, I was like, oh fuck yeah! And then then it got really sad. I was like, man,
I mean,
that was all I have right now,
dude. I feel the same way, and I'm an old school guy, you know, like everyone in the band is 40 plus, right? So like we grew up in the 90s. I mean, Matt's 50 plus. So I mean, like we love records, like albums, like where you can just dig into the whole thing. But, you know, budgets and like singles now that come out and they try to whet your appetite so you're into the band and you're following them on the socials, and it's a different animal now, and we're kind of trying to navigate that. We would like nothing else than to just put out a full length, but with our label Negative Progression and Seth over at Negative Progression, who's like the main guy over there, the plan right now is to continue to do like 2-song EP, like 7 inches, and then later on add a bunch of songs and kind of put out a full length with everything that we've done. Because I mean, people are going to listen to it online, but the people that are going to buy physical copies, it's kind of a finite group of people.
Yeah, it's me, you know, just like you, the older group, the guys that grew up in the 90s, who, you know, I'm surrounded by albums in my studio here, like just surrounded wall to wall. Like, so it's one of those things where I know it's hard, and especially for cutting your teeth when you did nowadays, trying to traverse everything. I don't know kind of how the younger group works. I've had a lot of young guys on here, young girls, and sorry, excuse me, trying to explain to them. I go, listen, when I grew up, when you got an album, you were fucking pot committed because you had no money to go out and get another album, and there was no way to listen to it. So you almost were forced to fall in love with something that you bought. I go, and nowadays you get 30 seconds of something, you can say, fuck this, I don't like it, and move on when things don't really get a chance.
Well, and that's why it's kind of a scary landscape too, because, you know, just what you said, when you would buy a CD or a record or whatever, you would put your $20 in that you had, and you might not have another $20 for quite a while. So repeated listens, kind of forcing yourself into it. And by doing that, maybe you're hearing it a different way than you would if you just, you know, oh yeah, that's okay, but I'm never going to listen to it again. Like, I don't know. I teach guitar for a living when I'm not doing other things. That's like, I own a music education business. And the kids that I teach, these like, you know, teenage kids that come in here, they have bands that they like, but they can't name all their records. They can't name all the songs. Like they like, I like Metallica. What songs do you like? I like Enter Sandman. I like Master of Puppets because I saw it on Stranger Things. And that's cool. And I'm glad that kids are still digging rock and roll music, but they're not obsessing and digging in the way that we did. So now, as a guy that's almost 45 years old, I feel very lucky that I get to release music again and that some people care. But I also know my market, which, you know, is guys 35 to 50 years old that grew up listening to Fat Records and Epitaph stuff. And so that's why, like I said, we leaned into the supergroup thing. We also leaned into Mark DeSalvo did the album art. And,
Yeah.
and, you know, Mark has done No Effects, Lagwagon, like you name it, he's done it. All the Pulley records, like everything. And then we also, you know, we had Jason and Bill over at the blasting room mix and master the songs. Because the people that are going to like us, those are things that they care about. Those are things that they look and they're like, oh, well, where was it mixed and mastered? Who did the artwork? Like, that's, kids nowadays don't give a shit. Like, a lot of my kids that I teach, they like my band. They're like, oh, that's a really cool song. But they have no reference, and they don't, like, there's one kid, I kind of make the joke all the time. I let him hear A Fool's Errand, and he's like, I really like it. It sounds like Green Day. Now, you and I know it doesn't sound like Green Day.
It does not sound anything like it, but
when
I understand the reference.
Yeah, when that kid hears it, the closest thing that he's heard to what we're doing is Green Day. So in his mind, it sounds like Green Day. So I think we have an appeal to like all ages, maybe. But I know that, you know, with the whole thing of a single versus a record, I think we can get a little bit more longevity and a little bit more out of the band if we continue to release singles, and then eventually all of those 7 inches and then some new songs come together as a full length, because there's a finite group of people that are going to buy the record, and they're going to buy the 7-inch, and then they're probably going to buy the full length because there'll be new songs on it as well. And I'm not trying to like, how can I get all this money? Because believe me, there's no money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just trying to like, how can we do this a cool way that makes sense for the landscape today of the music industry, but also kind of holds true to how we came up. So eventually there will be a Fire Sale full length record.
Yeah. Well, and I want to give you a little bit of optimism ahead. There is a younger pool of kids out there and bands that, you know, for one instance, I had a young band on, and I was like, you recorded in the blasting room, and that's so fucking awesome. I'm like, you know, what is it like that drove you to that? I'm like, I know what would drive me to that is working with Bill. I'm like, but at your age, I mean, and it was funny because he goes, oh, my dad's favorite band was the Descendants. And I was like,
yeah,
okay. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, but did you listen to it? They're like, oh no, I fell in love with it, because just like anything else, if your dad's always playing something, you're going to fall in love with it too. But I was like, well, the fact that even young generations are searching out that to get that, to be like, there's no way I'm not going to get this recorded there, is an awesome thing, and gives me a little bit of optimism for the future, you know, younger generation of bands to know the history, especially when it comes to music, because history is so important to know where things came from, and how to emulate and how to try to find, since there's no full book of, creating a band for dummies somewhere
Yeah.
and how to be successful. The fact that they can just start pulling from what other people have done and other generations and other bands is really important. So I am optimistic for some of these younger bands coming up and doing those sort of things and not trying to equate a Fire Sale to a Green Day, because couldn't be any further apart. So,
well, no, and there was one kid that I teach who is he's more into punk rock stuff, and he was like, I really like your band. I'm like, well, thanks, I really appreciate it. And I was telling him, this is how we did this, and we recorded in our home studios, and then we put it together and we had it mixed. And he's like, where'd you have it mixed? And I said, well, we had it done at the blasting room. And he's like, I've never heard of that. And I'm like, well, one of your favorite bands is Rise Against, right? And he said, yeah, I love Rise Against. I'm like, yeah, Bill and Jason do all their shit at the blasting room. And then he got really excited.
Yeah.
So if I can draw these parallels with some of these younger kids, there are kind of commonalities that we can come together and go, yeah, that's why it's cool. It sounds like this because of that. So I think you're right in saying that there is a group of youngsters that maybe dig a little bit deeper, but we just want to kind of serve everyone. We want to serve ourselves first. Like the music is the most important thing to us, because nobody's buying Lamborghinis in Fire Sale, but
not yet.
Not yet. Nobody's doing that. But my thing is, like, we slave over these songs, and the thing of recording them remotely, which is kind of what we do until we send them off to Jason and Bill, is we get to really kind of analyze and tear apart the songs until everything makes us happy. And then we release it. So we serve ourselves first, but we also want to serve the younger generation the way that they consume music. And then eventually we want to, we have the physical stuff right now for the older guys like me, but we want to eventually, have a full length. And then who knows if the budgets get bigger and we can actually fly out to the blasting room or to Pedro's studio in Virginia or whatever, maybe the next round of stuff can be like more traditionally recorded.
Yeah. And I think it's really important too. I mean, and you do it for a living, is educating the younger generations about the history of everything, right? You're just drawing those parallels, like putting that up there. I mean, the way you explain to someone younger and them getting excited about something, I think that's really important. So stuff like that doesn't go away. And you teaching, you have your summer camp for kids, music summer camp and stuff like that. I mean, that I think is what's extremely important, especially in what we're, the way the world is right now, where 60, what is it? Whatever. It's probably more now, but it was like 60,000 songs a day are uploaded to Spotify. And weeding through the stuff and trying to figure out who's who is the hardest part. So the education part behind the scenes is extremely important.
I try to play like the uncle or the older cool brother to the students that I have. Like, my uncle gave me Master of Puppets on cassette when I was 8 years old, and I had no idea what it was. It scared me the first time I heard it. But then it became like, because at that point I was 8 years old, and like back in the late 80s, early 90s, I'm listening to like Belle Biv DeVoe and like stupid shit like that. And so
I wouldn't call it stupid. I mean,
well, I love
Poison,
it, but
Poison was a hot track. I mean,
it still is a hot track. It holds up. Yeah. But when you're listening to that kind of like just pop whatever stuff at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, and then your cool uncle that wears a leather jacket and a Black Flag shirt gives you Master of Puppets, it kind of blows your mind, and that's when I first got my first guitar, and I was just into it so heavy. And so with these kids that are in here, I can kind of figure out like, okay, this kid's coming. Maybe his parents are making him come. He doesn't really seem that much into music. But then there's some kids that are like, they're hungry for it, but they don't know how to find it. Even though the world is at their fingertips with the internet, they don't know how to find it. So I had this kid the other day that went to the Blink show in Chicago or whatever, where Turnstile opened up. And he was just telling me how much he loved Turnstile. And I'm like, you like Turnstile? Have you listened to Fugazi? Because you should.
Yeah.
And then I let him hear Waiting Room by Fugazi, and it blew his mind. And now he's like the biggest Fugazi fan. The kid's 15 years old,
Yeah. Well, and that's the important part, right? And I mean, I was lucky enough to have a brother who was 10 years older than me.
Wow.
So, he gave me the Black Sabbath, the Led Zeppelin, all that kind of stuff. And I had a sister who was 4 years older than me who gave me The Cure and Depeche Mode and all that new wavy stuff. And I got to find my own way when it came time. But that musical knowledge, that someone just hands you something, is amazing. And just giving, hey, have you heard this band? If you like this band, instead of Spotify saying, if you like this, you'll like this, having someone who's done it and listened to everything, just be like, hey, check this out. I'm as an uncle, I have a, young niece and nephew, and being able to turn them on to what they're listening to. I'm like, hey, check this out. My nephew is into hip hop. I was like, hey man, we're going to sit down and I'm going to play you some, De La Soul and some Tribe. And I want you to see. And then all of a sudden he's like, these are the greatest bands I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, yeah. This is where it came from. You have to pay homage to where it came from, because a lot of the times it is better than what you're currently listening to.
Well, I tell you, it kind of works in a different way too, because my wife is 13 years younger than me. And so I'll be like working in the garage or something, or getting in the shower, and I'll put on my playlist, and like Taking Back Sunday will play, or Emery will play. And she's like, I used to listen to that in like 8th grade. Why are you listening to that? And I'm like, well, because I toured with these bands. Like, I'm friends with the TBS guys. I'm friends with the Emery guys. And like, for me, maybe you wouldn't think that a 45-year-old dude that's into punk rock would listen to Taking Back Sunday on a regular basis. But when you tour with them and you listen to them every night, or I was with Emery for 12 weeks one time. When you hear that every night, you get to be really good friends. Then those songs just kind of give you memories. So sometimes I get a lot of flack for things I listen to that maybe a 45-year-old punk rocker shouldn't listen to, but I love it because I have memories with those people,
Yeah, well, that's my saying is, music is the closest thing in reality we have to a time machine, because you can listen to a song and you remember everything about that moment you were listening to a song, and you can almost smell the smells, and sometimes they're really bad smells in a tour van, but I mean, you can go back to that moment and just be like, here I am again. And that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, completely, man. I mean, I look at music and tattoos the same. I have a lot of tattoos, and not all of them are great tattoos, but I don't regret any of them, because when I look at my tattoos, it's like a yearbook picture. And same thing with music. When I hear a song like Emery, for example, I don't know how versed you are with Emery, but they have this song called Walls, which was like their biggest song ever. And it's the beginning says, "Are you listening?" And I hear that anytime I hear it, if like I hear it on a playlist, or if I'm like, I don't know, sometimes it'll just come up on somebody's thing on Instagram. I'm just sent back to like 2004 on that tour. And I don't know, it's crazy how much music can like trigger memories. And I hope that our music will do that for somebody at some point. That's the connection goal that I have for the music.
Well, I'm sure it will, because everybody, regardless of ever knowing, people will hear it, people will know it. You may not know that they heard it, but it will trigger a memory, because I think every song out there that's ever been put out will trigger a memory for someone somewhere. So,
well, and I'll tell you, the one thing that I mean, not, saying that we're awesome or anything, but like the thing that I really like about this band is the way that we record, where like I'll send, my initial demo to Matt, and he'll play his bass part, and then he'll send it back, and then we give it to Pedro, and then Pedro writes the lyrics and the vocal melodies and records everything. Like, we all kind of put our stamp on it. It doesn't really matter who initially gets the idea and writes the song. But the thing that I love is Pedro, not only do I love his voice and I love how he layers his vocals and everything, but he writes some pretty killer lyrics as far as I'm concerned. I like they're not super specific, so a lot of people can relate to them. We do have one song, Mercy Brown, which is about a vampire. That's pretty literal. But everything else is pretty like, you can take it a few different ways. And I just love how he kind of puts words together. And I've never been much of a wordsmith. I've always been the riff guy, So just the fact that I know I can, write a million riffs a day. I know Matt Riddle can shred his ass off on the bass. I know Matt Morris is one of the most solid pocket drummers in the world that I know of. And then we send it to Pedro, and then he's going to basically write lyrics that I'd get him tattooed on my arm. Like I don't know, this band, a lot of bands I see weak pieces, and in this band I don't. And I know it's weird saying that about my own band, but I'm also such a big fan of all the guys in my band.
Well, being a fan of the people that you're creating with, I think, is an important part to the creation process, right? I think that's where struggles start to come in with bands, is when you're not fans of each other anymore, yeah. Right? So,
but yeah, I can't even believe sometimes that like, because I've been doing a lot of these interviews lately. A lot of them have been email interviews. And one of the questions that I always get is like, what are some of your biggest influences? And I'm like, well, 2 of the bands that my freaking bass player was in.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, sometimes it's not ever lost on me. And I don't know if you've ever listened to any of my episodes of my podcast, but like, I have. Yeah. I fanboy out. I'm not going to, like, who the fuck is going to try to be cool when Fat Mike is talking to you for 2 hours? Like, it's not going to happen. Like, when he was on the show, I've known Mike for a while, I've played gigs to no effects. Like, it's not like it was this new thing, but like when it's just him and we're recording this conversation and I have to ask him questions, I'm going to fanboy out. And I'm telling you, like, a couple months back, I had the Shiflett brothers on. I had Scott from Face to Face, and I had Chris from the Foo Fighters. And I'm going to fanboy out. And with Chris, I was like, dude, like, your old bass player's in my band now. And like, we were just talking about, like, I can't not do that. I love music so much. And, a lot of people have different people they look up to as heroes. All my heroes are musicians. So like, people always like would say stuff about my podcast, like, "Oh, you're going to fanboy." I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to fanboy out. If you were talking to Matt Pinfield from MTV, 120 Minutes, member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you're going to fanboy out too. Like,
well, that's my thing. I usually put disclaimers, major fanboying going on, but suck it up because it's a great episode. Like, because I think when you have that opportunity to fanboy out, and when you have that opportunity to, honestly, the other day I got to interview someone, Popeye from Farside, who I admire and played a pivotal role in my life. And I'm like, this may get uncomfortable at times, but I'm going to try to get all the uncomfortableness out at the very beginning of the show so we can move on and have some fun. But you have to take that opportunity because it's not always going to be there. So when it's there, fuck everybody else. This is what it's all about. And it's about telling people how much you appreciate them and love what they do, because without them, and same thing as you, my heroes are musicians. I mean, anytime I pick up an album and just be able to put it on and go, I love this, which is basically almost everything in my collection, is just that moment when I get to talk to that person and be like, hey, love everything you've done. Love what you've been a part of. We're going to fanboy a little bit, and it's okay, because I think people get jealous of that because you don't have that opportunity to do that. So just suck it up, because you'd do the same thing. Don't try to play it cool that you wouldn't.
Well, when I had Trevor from Face to Face on my podcast, I my favorite Face to Face, and this can get me in trouble with a lot of face-to-face people, but it's Ignorance is Bliss. It's their polarizing record, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the one where it was a little more alternative, a little less punky, but the songs are amazing. The production's amazing. And literally, like, I talked most of the interview about that record to Trevor, and Trevor's actually like, man, nobody really asked me about that record. That was a lot of fun. Thanks. But I had people hitting me up. It's like, you had Trevor on and all you did was talk about that record. I'm like, yeah, it's my podcast and it's my favorite record. So I'm going to talk about what the fuck I want to talk about. You can go listen to somebody else's podcast if you want to,
Well, I did it. So I saw Trevor a couple months back, and him and I were talking, and I was like, and I said, thank you for Ignorance is Bliss. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, thank you, because I didn't know how great you were until that album. Like, I loved you. You're my favorite band, like, of all time. I'm like, but I didn't know how great you were until that album came out.
It's everything about that record. It's the songwriting. the layers, like just how I don't know, because it's still face to face, but it felt like I would have been happy if they would have kept going that route. Like
Yeah.
I love the new stuff. I love everything they've ever put out, all the way back to when Riddle was in the band, Shiflett joined. Every record they've put out, I love. But that whole kind of like punky, but there's more to it. There's different elements from different genres. I just thought it was a perfect record.
Yeah, and I mean, when someone says that, and I've done this to people before, where they're like, "Yeah, nah, I wasn't a fan of Ignorance is Bliss." I was like, you know what? This may help you. Go listen to Standards and Practices, their cover album with, when they did a lot of new wave stuff on that, and then go into Ignorance is Bliss, and I guarantee you're going to have a total different outlook on it.
But those people that say that they don't like it are the same people that are like, I don't like Metallica's Black Album. Like, come on. Well, I mean, you can say whatever you want. Like, the first 4 records were masterpieces, but the Black Album is classic. You cannot tell me that when Sad But True comes on or Wherever I May Roam, you don't go, oh, this is a badass song. Like, those people can suck it, man. Like,
they're all fucking liars. They think they try to play that cool route where, you don't have to, man. You're allowed to like what you like. I'm in my 40s, and my friends and I were talking, when the new Taylor Swift album came out, it was 2 grown men walking up to each other, be like, Doug, you hear the new T-Swizzle album? And they're like, fuck yeah, I did. It's awesome, right? And I'm like, you're allowed to like shit, and it's fine.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I teach a lot of Taylor Swift stuff to my students. I have a lot of people that really like that. I don't quite understand why she has gotten to be like this godlike figure in music, but I respect her. I think she's a good songwriter, and I love the fact that, she wanted to get her royalty, so she re-recorded all of her own back catalog. I think that she's very, very smart, and I'm glad that she is famous.
Yeah.
But I don't listen to her very much. I will admit that. And I've had people all the time, so many buddies of mine, like black metal buddies of mine, that are like, have you heard the new Taylor Swift? I'm like, no, sorry, dude, I haven't. So maybe I need to check it out.
Well, there's something to it. I don't know what it is, but it's something I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't be liking this, but I'm kind of digging on it.
Well, I mean, I feel that all the time because I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and when you walk into my house, it's like BTS and AJR and like all these like pop bands, and I'm like, I shouldn't really enjoy this K-pop band, but the songs are really good,
Well, a good song's a good song. That's it.
Yeah, you can't
get away from it.
Yeah.
Talking about songs, to try to introduce someone right now from what you released, what song would you play for someone that you would say, hey, this is my new band, and you could only show them one song?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that, the 5 songs that we have out there right now, which Long Overdue is kind of more of a demo that we released because the old label we were on, Spam Records out of Europe, they needed a song for a compilation. But that's up on the internet, and it's more of a demo. The drums on that aren't even real, but you can't really tell. I mean, now with technology, it sounds fine. I wouldn't probably do that one because that was just a one-off thing. It's kind of more poppy than we normally do. I would probably go with Dark Hearts, which was our first song we released. I think that kind of encapsulates everything the band's about. There's fast parts, there's palm muting, there's kind of like more metal, kind of leady stuff, harmony guitars. There's clean, like kind of dissonant guitars. There's soaring vocals. There's really cool bass line. I would probably go with Dark Hearts. I feel like all the songs fit together, but I feel like they all have a different vibe. But Dark Hearts, I think, would let you know what the band's about. That's my opinion. Everybody might have a different opinion in the band. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I do, which is nice. Sometimes I try to, start some riffs between bandmates when I have more than one person on the show. And I'm like, no, you don't have to pick that just because the guy who wrote it sitting next to you. You can pick a different song that you like.
Well, I'll
Dark Hearts I have circled here, so I already had that as what I would play for somebody.
We split everything like in quarters, 25, 25, 25. Like it's like, did you write? Because people ask me that all the time. Like, who wrote Dark Hearts? Who wrote A Fool's Errand? I'm like, well, there's different stories. Like I wrote the skeleton of Dark Hearts, but then everybody did their own stuff. Matt Riddle sent me the skeleton with the bass intro to A Fool's Errand, but then I did all the guitars. Like we don't really think of it in those lines. Even if somebody was to send like a completed, thought out song and it's completely done, we're all going to write our own parts and it's going to be totally collaborative. That's how we feel about it.
Well, that's a good way to go at it, especially now.
Well, we've all been in bands too, where there's like the guy, you know,
Yep.
and we've all had bad experiences, not throwing anybody under the bus because like, I don't have any enemies in the music industry right now. None of us do. But, you know, we've always been in that situation where it's like, almost kind of like, hey, I wrote a song too. And like, well, you're not the guy, you know?
Yeah.
In this band, there's 4 guys. Like there's a song that we've been messing with lately. That's like a drum beat that Matt Morris came up with. It's not even, you know, like we're going to write a song around a drum beat because I want him to feel the same as we feel when we send off our stuff to each other. Like I want everybody in this band to have an equal say. It's a complete democracy across the table.
Yeah, it's a team, and that's
it's a team.
You know,
one for all for one.
Yeah. You brought up your uncle handing you Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
Okay, so from that moment when you get something like that, what was the first time that you kind of found your own music that was something different that you weren't expecting, that kind of, you know, changed your thought about music?
Well, that was actually it. And I'll tell you, I'll kind of elaborate on that more. So I was 7 or 8 years old, got it for my birthday, which I'm not sure that my uncle went out and bought it. Like it was,
he just wrapped it from his car as he walked in, like uncles do.
Yeah, because like I'm wanting to say it was like a year or 2 after it came out. So I don't think he went down to Sam Goody and bought it and like brought it to me. I think it's this shit. I'm going to my nephew's birthday party. I go, I'll just grab this Master of Puppets out of the console of my car. I think that's what he did. And later on for another birthday, he gave it to me on vinyl, which was his like original OG pressing of it. So he really drove home the Metallica thing. But soon after I got that tape and I started listening to it, and I kind of felt like it was my little secret. And nobody else I was going to school with was listening to Metallica. Like it was kind of a rare thing. And I'm not like saying it to be cool. Like, oh, I'm OG. I've been listening to Metallica since I was 8 years old. That's not why I'm saying it. It was kind of this odd thing of where my parents were like, okay, whatever. Cause my dad loved Sabbath and my dad loved, you know, like some Iron Maiden stuff. And I mean, my parents liked rock and roll. So it's like, you know, they weren't scared to let me listen to Metallica as long as it wasn't something really crazy.
Yeah.
And so then my friend Joey, who was into music, and his dad played guitar and he was in a band, kind of like a blues band. His dad had started kind of showing us chords and showing us things. And I would go out there almost every weekend and spend the night. And Joey's sister was like in high school at the time. She was older, and her boyfriend would come over and we would not really break into his car. He'd leave it unlocked. We'd get in his car and we'd take all of his cassette tapes. And over a few months, we had stolen, like we had 2 Anthrax tapes and 2 Maiden tapes, and we had a Black Flag tape, and we had, what else did we have? A Minor Threat tape. A lot of the cool, like 80s, early 90s, like punk, hardcore, and metal stuff, right?
Yeah.
And like I think there was a Testament tape and Exodus, one of Exodus's first like records. And a couple other Metallica records after, you know, a few years, like, you know, I think he had Ride the Lightning and he had a couple different things. And we would keep all of these tapes in a shoebox. And every couple days we would trade the shoebox back and forth and keep one of the tapes. So we all had every time, like I would have something to listen to and he would have something to listen to. And it was like our own little secret. And I just remember like, it totally influenced my thought process on music. I started liking really, really heavy stuff. It kind of sounded the way that I felt sometimes when I got a little bit older, you know, like the angsty, you're a kid. It doesn't matter how great your childhood is. You still get pissed off. Right.
Yep.
And it just it spoke to me. And when I got a little bit older and I got like a real guitar and I started, you know, messing around and getting tab books and learning all the Metallica stuff and learning all the Maiden stuff. And, then 93, 94, when Green Day and Offspring exploded, then it was like, oh, I love metal, but this is like, it's the same vibe as metal, but I don't have to be Steve Vai to play this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, when that, like the year punk broke, I think I was 8th grade, maybe, or almost going into 9th grade. And I went to a record store and I was buying Smash, and the record store was giving away copies of Punkorama with Smash. And so I got the first Punkorama comp on Epitaph. And of course, think about that comp. If you don't know, it's like No Effects.
Oh, I know.
Pennywise, Rancid. Like it's everything you need if you want to, like, it's the starter pack for punk rock. And I got into that, and then I really liked No Effects. And then right around that, a year or two before that, Fat Record just started. I got the first Fat comp. I got the first Propaganda record. I got the first Good Riddance record. I got the first, like, it just kind of, my life changed as soon as, like, it had already started down that path with the metal tapes and some of the more like obscure kind of punky hardcore stuff from the 80s and 90s. And then as I getting ready to go into high school is when it just exploded, and sending off $100 in an envelope concealed to Fat Records to get, like, because that's how you used to have to do it. You would send money.
You get a little checklist of stuff from inside of a CD, and then you would have to send money to them and, wait 8 weeks for your music to show up.
Oh, and then there was also Columbia House and BMG where you could spend 1 penny and get like 10 free CDs. I did that so much. I would sign my dog up to get more stuff, because all you had to do was cancel before they charged you,
Yep. Rufus Swinney to
Well, and the thing is too, like, that sounds kind of dumb to some people, but those Columbia House, some of those punk labels had really good distro. I remember you could get, like, I think you could get I got the first Green Day record, not the first one, but I got Kerplunk through Columbia House. And I think I got a bunch of Iron Maiden through Columbia House. Like, there was good stuff on there. It wasn't just all bullshit pop stuff. Like, you could really I utilized anything I could to bolster my music collection. Let's just say that.
So you and Joey are hanging out, trading tapes and stuff.
Yeah.
What was the name of the band that you guys came up with? Because there's no way you didn't, especially with a guitar around, guys didn't try to come up with a band name.
Man, nobody's asked me this ever, and I remember it, and I'll never forget it. It was called So Be It. And
it's not terrible. We've had some shit fucking names on this show. That's a fantastic
we even like had that written in big like block letters on the shoebox with like lightning bolts and a skull. Like we were like, and we didn't have a drummer, we didn't have anything, but we both had a guitar, and his dad taught us like the blues scale and power chords. So we thought we were awesome. But yes, So Be It. There's even you're from Jersey, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm in Indiana. So the place that we always went in the summertime is this place called Kings Island, which is this big amusement park. I think it's in Ohio. Yeah, it's in like northwestern Ohio. Over,
I've actually been there.
Okay, cool. So we would go to Kings Island, and I wasn't a big roller coaster guy, but there were other things you could do, whatever. And my parents had always let me bring a friend, and my sister could bring a friend. And so we went to Kings Island one year. I think this was probably when I was in like 6th or 7th grade. And Joey came with us, and they had this thing called Star Tracks, where you could get in this room, and it was like a green screen. It's kind of like that No Effects video from S&M Airlines. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the exact same place. Like that, I think that's where they didn't do it there, but it was that kind of idea. So we went in there and we did "Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses, and we like sang it and everything. And they would do graphics on the screen before the song started, and it was like "Sweet Child of Mine" by So Be It, and like the guy wrote "So Be It" on the cassette on the VHS tape. Like, we were never a band, but that was our idea of what we were going to be if we were a band.
We all had those. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine was at Hershey Park. I did that, and I did it to Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood.
There you go. Yeah, that's awesome. I did one with my dad one time. Another time when we went back and I always did GNR songs. I don't know why. We did Paradise City, and my dad took his belt off and like tied it around his head, and he was doing like the Axl Rose stuff, like the side sways. I wish I could find that video. I'd put it online. It's pretty awesome.
Those were the awesome times where anything could happen.
Yeah.
Now, now going from all that and getting into music and starting to get those tab books and learning songs and playing it, how soon after that was it that you started to kind of maybe take it more seriously or see that you could possibly do something with what you were learning?
Dude, I'll tell you right away. I know Joey moved away after 8th grade. He moved to Georgia, and he was like my best friend. Like we're like brothers. But there were these guys that lived down the street from him that I'd met a few times that went to a different school. But when we get into high school, they're going to be going to the same school as us. And they're Jason and Troy. They were brothers. And I had gotten to know them pretty well. And Jason had started playing drums, and we had kind of like forced his brother Troy into learning the bass. And nobody really wanted to sing, so Troy started singing. And literally the summer after 8th grade, getting together after Joey moved away. Joey originally was going to be in the band, but his dad got a job and they had to leave. And we started this band called Chronic Chaos. I learned about it in health class, like chronic fatigue syndrome, and then chaos, because, you're a punk band, you want to be chaotic. Yeah. So yeah, like total chaos, but not as good. We did Chronic Chaos. And back then we smoked a lot of weed. So we thought maybe Dr. Dre would like sign us or something. We were stupid. But yeah, so Chronic Chaos was that band going into 9th grade. We played all the talent shows and the dances, and I played football. And one year our theme was Seek and Destroy by Metallica. So, at halftime we would run over and in the state, not the stadium, but like the football field with all the people in the stands, we played Seek and Destroy. And I was in my helmet, my shoulder pads, because I just played. And it was like we were the only band at my school, because I went to this little school out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere, called Eastbrook, and I had like 80 kids in my graduating class. So we were the only band at the entire school. So people kind of dug it, whether they didn't like punk or they didn't like metal or whatever. They just liked it because we were the only thing there.
Because they had no choice.
They had no option other than us. It's like, if you like music at all, you have to like this because it's the only thing there. But then like we graduated and we started playing shows out of town. One time my parents, we got this show offer in White River Junction, Vermont, which is literally 18 hours from where we live. And they were like, yeah, we'll give you $50. It's a sold out show. It's a big festival. And so I talked my parents into, it was their anniversary weekend. And I talked my parents into driving my grandma's van with our equipment. And me and all the guys got into my dad's car, and we followed each other all the way to Vermont, and we played the show. And it was our first time like really on the road. It was one show and my parents were with us, but we sold all of our merch at that show. We ended up making enough money to cover all the gas and the hotels and everything. And that was kind of what made me think, it's crazy that our first out of state show was in Vermont, 8 hours away. But it also let me know that this is kind of doable. If we make X amount of dollars, it doesn't have to be crazy, just enough to cover the gas and maybe feed everybody. We could really do it. So that when we finally we graduated, I was in college, and then we're like, okay, we're going to play local shows and we're going to save some money up. And then this next summer, we're going to hit it really, really hard. And we did. We went out for like the entire summer, and we were sleeping in the van and sleeping on, picnic tables at rest areas and eating ramen noodles with the coffee water at truck stops to heat it up. Like, we did everything and I did that for years and years and years. And that band, we were together for 10 years, almost 11 years. We ended up doing like 2 or 3 stints on the Warped Tour. We did the whole USA numerous times. We were on a bunch of compilations, international comps, domestic comps. We put out an EP and 2 full-length records. Like, that band kind of was my boot camp. That got me kind of to know that I could do it. And then, after a while, people are like, we're in our early 20s and people want to settle down and have kids and have a real job. and I'm a drill sergeant that's like, nope, I just booked another 3 months, and
Yeah.
so like that band kind of, after Warped Tour 2003, I think we did like 2 or 3 weeks on Warped Tour. That band kind of disbanded, and we're still good friends and everything. It was time for it to end. And then I started a band called the Widow Jenkins with my buddy Joel Green, who used to be in the band Emery, who I've discussed on here a couple times already.
Mm-hmm.
We started a band called the Widow Jenkins. It was a little bit more, the Widow Jenkins was a little bit more metal, kind of, I wouldn't say metal core, because there wasn't a lot of breakdowns. It was more thrashy, but it was kind of screamy and singing vocals. And a lot of people,
good. I like it.
Well, thanks, man.
I've heard. Yeah,
it's a lot of people freaked out that liked my first band because they're like, "Oh, this is so different. Are you doing this to get like to be cool?" Like, no, I'm doing this because I love metal, and nobody ever wanted to do metal until then. So, so we did that, and then that band was getting ready. We got an offer to come play for Tony and all the guys at Victory in their warehouse, and maybe signed to Victory. And our singer kind of had some anxiety and kind of backed out at the last minute. And, I understand, I'm not mad at him or anything, but he just couldn't do it. So then the Widow Jenkins was kind of like, oh, we don't have a singer. What are we going to do? And that's when I kind of reconnected with Chris Rowe. And that's when, the Widow Jenkins was kind of absorbed by the Ataris back in 2007 or 6 or whenever it was. Because basically Chris didn't have a band anymore. And he had moved back home to Indiana, and he was wanting to kick the Ataris back off, and he had some new songs and offers for tours and everything. And I had hit him up to see if he wanted to sing on a demo for the Widow Jenkins, because I thought, how cool would it be to have like Chris Rowe, this pop punk guy, like singing on a metal song? And I know he loves metal because we used to talk about it all the time. We grew up in like twin towns right next to each other, and he's like, I don't really want to do that right now, maybe in the future, but he's like, I'm trying to put the Ataris back together. He's like, I need a guitarist, a bass player, and a drummer. And I'm like, well, you're in luck because I have all three. And so
Look no further.
Yeah. So at that point, I owned a house here in Muncie, Indiana, where I live again. I've been gone and I've come back, but I owned a house on the north side of town. And I had a recording studio with Brian, who was in the Widow Jenkins with me, and later the Ataris. And so Chris was like, I want to come over and feel the other guys out and make sure, blah, blah, blah. So he came over, we jammed, he offered us the gig. And a week later we were in Vegas playing in front of like 20,000 people. So that's kind of how that happened. And then I was with the Ataris for a very, very long time until I kind of was, in my mid 30s, and I got a job offer down on the beach in Gulf Shores to work in corporate entertainment. And I kind of was sick of being on the road, and I decided I didn't want to be in a band anymore. And as soon as I decided that, I wanted to kick myself and go back. It's always the grass is greener, like you get to a certain point and, I'll tell you right now, like, did I ever get to like, live in a mansion and be on MTV all the time? No, but I lived my dream. I made my living playing music for quite a while. Like I was able
and just like anything else though, you're allowed to get tired, right? It's great. But at the same time, I think no matter what it is you do, at some point you're just like, I'm just tired. Like, well, I'm just tired. I need a break.
At the time, my first marriage was suffering. I was gone a lot. I was missing friends' weddings, and I was missing, different holidays and stuff. And as much as I loved it, and it was my dream, because I never cared about being rich and famous. I wanted to play my guitar and be able to travel to other countries and feed myself and pay my bills. That's all I ever wanted to do. And I got there, and I got it, and I really loved it. But then it's like, I don't know. I had this weird, almost like quarter life crisis kind of thing, or halfway between quarter and midlife crisis, where I got super, super burnt out on the traveling. I got super burnt out on just the day-to-day stuff that goes into being in a band and the responsibilities. And I regretted after I did it. Then, I mean, it worked out better because then, I took this job down on the beach in South Alabama, and I met my wife, and and we have our 2 kids. Like everything worked out the way it was supposed to do. And now I'm in fire sale and I'm talking to you, and we just played a show and we just filmed a video. Like things work out the way they're supposed to work out. But I did instantly regret it, because I'm like, as soon as I took my hiatus or my leave or whatever you want to call it, because I don't even know if I really quit. Like I'm out. I quit. It was just kind of like, man, I can't do this for a while. Like they booked a tour to South America, and like they're in South America, and I'm like, oh man, I'm sitting in Muncie, Indiana when I could be in Sao Paulo right now. Like I just like it was really weird. And it was also that thing of where my whole identity since the time I was 12 years old was, hey, that's Chris. He's the dude in the band.
Yeah.
And I was no longer the dude in the band. I was working in corporate entertainment, and I was, hobnobbing with like Tom Petty and Foo Fighters and all these bands that were playing these festivals that I was working down there. But I was like, do you need any more Coca-Cola for your dressing room? It wasn't like, I can't wait to get up and play on stage. I was like the dude that was taking care of the artists. And as much as I love that, my identity was so tied up in like playing music that I kind of lost myself for a while, man. And then the pandemic hit, and I started writing these songs, and I finally, even the podcast, when I started the podcast, it was I lost contact with the scene that I loved so much. And I don't know, I've been kind of getting back into it, and the band was the next logical step. Like the podcast kind of got me. I got to hit up people and talk to people I hadn't talked to in years, and I felt like I was a part of the scene again. And then I started the band, and now the podcast is kind of taking a back seat. I've been on a hiatus for a while. A lot of people are kind of, are you dead? Are you putting out another episode? I'm like, I'm just taking a little break, man. It's busy right now. But everything kind of has gotten me to where I am today. But when I initially walked away from the Ataris, it was rough, because when your whole identity is tied up in one thing, and then that one thing is gone, you don't really know who you are anymore.
Without a doubt. And I mean, I think it's cool what you did though. When you left, you went to like the other side of the music biz, and you kind of get an education from everywhere and everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think it gives you a broader perspective too, now to starting something new, and gives you the opportunity to maybe do things differently or picked up other things along the way. I mean, it's a great thing. And with the podcast and being able to talk to people and learning from people, I mean, it's a constant education, which is the important part of the music business, right? And constantly learning about stuff. So doing things differently now, and possibly starting this new chapter, and not getting burnt out is pretty awesome.
Well, and I'll tell you, it's the fire sale thing. I told the guys at the beginning, we've all had different experiences, some bad, some good. I've heard a lot of stories from the guys in the band about things that I would never have put up with. I would have probably ended up in jail if it would have happened to me. But I've told them from the beginning, I don't want there to be stress in this band. We're not 20-year-old kids. We're not trying to take over the world. We don't have these dreams of being, the headliners at Coachella or anything. Like, we just want to release what we think is quality music. And if there's a show that's like a fly out show, or if there's like a short tour or something in Europe or something else in Australia or Japan, and it makes sense and we're not going to lose money and everybody's down to do it, we do it. If one person is not down to do it, we don't do it. I want this band, like I said, a complete democracy, but I want it to, when you're young and you're in a band, you do anything to get your band bigger.
Yeah.
You will fucking kill someone to make your band bigger. And I don't feel that way anymore. I'm, like our first 7-inch sold very, very well. The new 7-inch has been out now for a while. It's selling very, very well. I'm happy. I'm happy that 50 people dig my band. Like, I don't know. It's not, I don't make my living off the band, so maybe that's an easier thing, but I love the music that we're making together. I love the guys in the band. I'm massive fans of what they have done and what they are doing in this band. We love hanging out with each other. We have, a group text going all the time. We do Zoom stuff, and then, when we got together in Texas and played the show and did the video, we were like, how's it going to be? Like all of us hanging out for a few days. Is it going to work? And it was perfect. It was like we were a family because we got to know each other so well from doing all of the riding and everything. And I don't know. I don't want this band to ever be a burden on anybody. Like we're all old dudes now. We all have kids and mortgages and bills. Like, like we got an offer right when the band started and put out our first single to go open up for the Satanic Surfers in Europe. But it was kind of a break even or lose a little bit of money thing. And a couple of the guys weren't sure if they could get off work. And it would have been amazing. And I love those guys and the shows would have been sold out and it would have been amazing. But at that point, we only had like 3 songs. Like we're going to get up there and play for 15 minutes. Like it's just going to be stupid. So things like that, like now, hey, promoter, if you're listening that wanted me to come over to Europe, now we have the songs, hit me up. But it's kind of like, we just don't want to do shit to do it. We want to do things that are going to make the bands, be on more people's radar. Of course, that's the whole point. But we're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize what we have. And we're not going to go poor doing it,
No, and that's, where you are in your life, and you keep using the word old, and let's change that to seasoned.
Seasoned. I like seasoned better. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's, because I'm older than you. So, as of yesterday, I'm older than you.
Okay.
So, it's one of those things where sometimes life gets in the way, but when you can start to, manufacture the things around it that are important to you and that you want to be a part of your life, you'll always find a way to do it, right?
Yeah,
you're going to find a way. And as long as it's important to you and it's something you love, you'll figure it out. And I think what you're already doing and how you started this whole thing is just a great way to take one step at a time, right? Instead of jumping feet first, like as a young kid in his 20s with a band, as you said, you'd kill somebody. I don't know if that's really what
I was just trying to show how dead set people are. I'm not really going to kill somebody. Maybe
now,
I don't
know anymore. But
dude, when I was 20 years old trying to get my band out there is not a lot that I wouldn't do. Like it was insane. But now it's like, yeah, if you like my band, you like my band. I'm not going to take food out of my kid's mouth so I get 10 more downloads on iTunes or whatever. So
yeah, to make that 0.00034 cents.
Yeah, right.
But so we've been here for an hour, and I hope you'd be open to coming back as soon as more stuff starts coming out and we can continue the conversation, because I only got through I don't know, maybe a quarter of the questions that I have, but I don't want to take a lot of your time, and just having you here is a big thing for me. So I just want to say thank you.
Man,
it's awesome. I listen to your show, so it's awesome to have you.
Well, it's always weird when I'm on podcasts. It's always weird because, like, I'm a talker. I could talk the whole time, but it's strange to be asked questions and not be like the guy asking the question. So thank you for giving me that, because it is kind of fun. Whenever the shoe's on the other foot, it's different, but I enjoy it.
No, it's fantastic. I've been on other shows too, and it's a weird dichotomy that you have to come up with, because I'm used to just listening to people, because that's my favorite part of it, is listening to other people's stories. I mean, I love learning about people. So it is weird when someone's asking me questions about myself. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, okay, but it's awesome. And what you're doing now, I mean, with your show too, and the band and everything you've done is awesome, dude. So be proud of where you are, because I think you're a lot, further in life than you possibly maybe ever thought you would be. So,
I mean, I never thought that I would be a part of like this scene again. Like, I don't know. And the podcast got my foot back in the door. And that's the thing. Like, I was the 5th guitarist in the Ataris. I by no means think that like that means anything. we use it, just to kind of, like I said, we lean into stuff. Like if if putting X Ataris, X No Use for a Name, X Face to Face is going to get someone to listen to Fire Sale, then hell yeah, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to feel bad about it. But I don't know. I don't have any sort of ego or what, because I mean, I've been a part of a lot of really cool things and I've had some successes, but it's all been collaborative. It's never been me. So like when the podcast started getting popular, that was a different feeling because like I created that. And, you know, when Fire Sale has been gaining a lot of steam lately, it is a collaborative thing, but it feels different because it's my baby and I kind of spearheaded it and, you know, asked all the other dudes if they wanted to do it. So I feel very, I wouldn't say lucky, but I feel very kind of honored and happy about the fact that I'm almost 45 and I feel like I'm putting out some of the best stuff that I've ever been a part of. And it's coming from me and people that I love dearly and respect. And it's not just me being like a session guy, which has happened quite a bit in my life. I've been on tours with a lot of bands, just kind of doing a gig, you know?
Yeah, but you've made your own luck. And this is the way, like, don't downplay it because not many people have done what you've done. So that's where, you know, taking pride and ownership over, you know, not saying that you were the fifth guitarist of the Ataris. No, like you don't have to say that. You did something somewhere.
Dave Grohl was like the fourth or fifth drummer for Nirvana, so I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have to be proud of what you did because not many people have done it and not many people could have done it. So, you know, that's where I give you, it doesn't matter what you fucking, you know, what number you were somewhere, just the fact that you did it is enough to just keep going. That no one else did it, you did it. So
well, I tell people all the time, it's like I just love creating stuff, whether it's podcasts or music or whatever, you know, and it's all about your work ethic and working harder. Like there's things for Fire Sale that our PR guy didn't get, our label didn't get. I got it for us because I researched and tried to find some certain person's email and bugged them until they did it. You know, Chronic Chaos, my first band, the way we got on Warped Tour, I went on Warped Tour with this band called Sewing with Nancy and I tour managed for him in like 2002. I met Rory from No Use for a Name. He taught me how to surf. And then as we were coming in from the water one morning before the doors open, he introduced me to Kevin Lyman. Kevin gave me his email and I emailed Kevin 50 days straight asking to play the tour. And Kevin finally said, if you stop emailing me, I'll give you a week on the tour. So like, that's when you say make your own luck. I do kind of identify with that because you have to put the work in. Like I love being on Negative Progression Records and I loved when we were on Spam Records and any label that I've ever worked with, but people think, especially kids, they're like, oh, you get signed and you're golden. It's like, no, for one thing, they're never going to sign you unless you're going to do the work for yourself. And when you get signed, the work doesn't end. Like
sometimes it gets harder.
Yeah. I work with Seth over at Negative Progression on like business plans for the band, marketing plans for the band, different like places we're going to market, stuff like it never stops. And it's always brainstorming and coming up with new cool ideas. And you have to do that. And that's one thing I don't think I'm the most talented guitar player in the world. I think I'm pretty good for the amount of time I put into it. I think I'm fairly creative when it comes to like writing music, but I in no means think that I deserve it on my playing alone. But I tell you, the amount of business side and research and just bullshit busy work that I put into it, I think that's kind of got me to where I am today. So anybody out there listening, if you want any sort of success whatsoever, you got to do more than just play the guitar.
Well, you got to do more than what you think you have to do. And that's I've got things from people before. They're like, oh, you know, your podcast, you just talk, you record it, and then you put it out there. And I'm like, listen, man,
they have no idea.
You don't do it and you have no idea. I'm like, I have a full-time job where I travel all around the fucking country. I barely have any time, but the podcast is a passion project. And I put the same amount of time into what I do in a passion project as I do my real job that pays me the money. I'm like, I make nothing. I'm an old school artist where everything that I do for the show, I lose money.
Yeah.
But I work hard at it because I want it to be as good as possible, and I want someone to enjoy it. And that's really why I do what I do. But if you think it's easy, here you go. I'll give you a microphone, and you try to talk to somebody who you've admired, or try to help someone, and see how you do. And let me tell you, it's a tough thing to do. So, especially, don't belittle people. I've had a great pleasure of helping other people start their show, and then showing them what it takes, and them being, after doing like 10 episodes, being like, man, I need a break. I'm like, you can't.
Well,
like,
see,
you
and
can't, dude.
That's my thing. Like I've been on a hiatus for the last couple months. And basically what happened was I'm up to almost 200 episodes, and I got to the point where a lot of band stuff was kicking off. My business that I own was getting very, very busy. I have 2 children in school. I have a wife. Like I have a lot going on. I was traveling for Fire Sale and doing all this different stuff for that. And so in my mind, I'm like, I love doing the podcast, but I've never taken a break since I started.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to see what happens. And so for like the first couple weeks, I got the same amount of downloads and listens that I did when I was doing it every week. And then it actually went up. Like people are like going back and looking through the back catalog because I'm not putting out new episodes. So starting like next month, I'm going to start with some new episodes. I'm excited to get it going again, but you can't burn yourself out. I don't want to hate doing the podcast.
No. And so one thing that I did, because I do it once a week, right? And what I do is, right now I try to get all my episodes for the summer out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's my break. Like I'll do everything. Everything will be, I'll spend a couple weeks doing production, doing everything, getting everything set up, and then just be like, all right, I got a month or 2 reprieve, because I'm I'm lucky that I'm only doing it once a week. But at the same time, it's a lot to put together. It's a lot to put one episode together. And it's like, all right, here's my little break. I got a little reprieve, and then I kick back up because I'm ready to go. But that's how I get my little time off per se.
I had never really taken a break of more like maybe a week or 2 here and there when I went on vacation or whatever. And it was just the fact, even sometimes on vacation, the first couple of years, I would do an extra episode and schedule it to come out when I was out of town. Like I was so anal about it and crazy about it. But I mean, I think if I hadn't done that in the beginning, I wouldn't have kind of grown the community that I have of people that listen.
Absolutely, man. I was doing it in a closet. Okay. Yeah. I travel with my microphone, my computer, and I'm doing it in a closet on vacation because I had scheduled, it was the only time, when I started out, I could only get, so many interviews because nobody knew who I was. But then it was like, all right, I don't have to sit in a closet in a hotel room anymore. But at that time, that's what I was doing because you had to, right? You had to, but that shows the difference in what people do. And how to carry something forward. And that's what you mentioned. And it's the big word, work.
Well, it's a lot of work. Like you were talking about doing the closet, and my first little podcast studio was my daughter's nursery. And because it sounded good in there. And then I remember there was one time during the pandemic where we had to get out of town because we were just so going stir crazy. And we took our kids up to Lake Michigan, and we rented this little tiny house. And there wasn't anywhere in the tiny house really that I could do anything. And the Wi-Fi was sketchy, but out in the car, I could get good Wi-Fi. And so I did my whole episode with Jake from Strung Out with my son sitting next to me making noises in my car. Because I was like, I have to do it. Like it doesn't matter that we're on vacation. Like I have to do this. So as I've continued to do it, and I've been doing episodes now since 2018, and I feel now like I can take a little bit of a break, and people hit me up and they wonder where I'm at and everything, but I stay kind of active on the social media stuff. And then what I've noticed is the last little tiny break I took, and then I came back, I took a break like around Christmas when I come back, and then people just jump on it like crazy. So building up that community of people that really like your show, I mean, I guess it can almost backfire if they want to hear a new thing and you don't put it out, and then they kind of get sick of it and they forget about it. But I've found that when I do take small hiatuses, it doesn't really affect the show, and it actually grows when I come back. So I'm treating it now as this thing that I really enjoy doing, but I enjoy doing it when I want to do it. And I'm just going to do it when I want to do it. And when there's someone that I want to have on the show. There were so many times where a publicist would hit me up and like some pop new band that I didn't give a fuck
I know exactly
about.
what you're talking about. I listen, my inbox is filled with that stuff.
And I mean, and for a while it was like, oh, I don't have a guest this week. I guess I'm going to have to do it and then act like I give a fuck about this band. And then I felt like that was super ingenuous. And one thing people always said that they liked about me as a host and they liked about the show is that I seemed honest and I was always engaged with the people I was talking to. So it came to a point of where there's only a couple people left on my bucket list that I want to talk to. So if someone wants to come on the show that I'm down to speak with, cool. But I'm not going to go out of my way to, I want to expose bands to new people and new bands to people, whatever. But it's got to be something that I care about.
Well, that's my big thing where I'm at, where how you just said, you get this stuff. I kind of feel that now people are sort of looking towards my thoughts on something as opposed to just talking to someone. So I gotta care about the music for you to be here.
Well, and I've got some friends that work at a fairly large podcasting company. I'm not going to mention any names because they might get mad that I did, but and they'll tell me stuff like, you know, people will come, like if you had, like I did a little joke on April Fool's Day and I put up that I was having James Hetfield on. I had like, because everybody knows how much I love Metallica. So I found this thing on Google, it was him doing a video chat, and I kind of used one of my old video chats and I put them together and it looked like I was chatting with James Hetfield. And people freaked out and they were so proud of me. And then I felt bad because I'm like, oh, they know how much I love him and this is a joke for April Fool's Day. But it was like, if I was to do something like that, I care about that and I would do it in a heartbeat. But, you know, if it's somebody, and I'm not talking shit on anybody that I've had on the show, but I just, it's got to be my show. And the people at that podcast company, they were telling me like, you know, if you have James Hetfield on, people are going to come listen. It'll probably be your biggest episode you've ever done. But how many of those people are going to come back the next week when you're talking to Joe Blow down the street that plays drums in some cover band?
Yeah.
Like it's got to be, they have to engage with the host and they have to like you as a person. And so it's almost like, because like I used to just try to get the biggest people I could. And then I started thinking like, that's kind of dumb. Like I remember when I had Josh from Paper Arms on, he was like, wait, you want me to be on your podcast? Like you just had freaking, you know, Fat Mike or whoever. And I'm like, well, yeah, dude, I love your band. Like, so I realized pretty early on that people are either going to like me or they're going to hate me. And having some big name person on the show is not going to make my show any better.
No, well, it's being genuine, and people can feel that, and that's what they fall in love with. Really, I mean, that's what I fall in love with, is, you know, hearing someone truly fanboy out, as you know, go full circle to what we talked about at the beginning. When you can fanboy, someone knows that you're totally in. And just having this and the bands that meant the most to me in my life, and having the opportunity to talk to a Popeye or Jeff from Game Face or you know, Chris from Elliot, you know, some of my favorite bands of all time.
I had the Elliot guys on my show, and oh, False Cathedrals was my shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like I love that record so much. And it was funny because we had this
listen, my big thing was that my episode came out before yours. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just remember, I remember that actually. I remember seeing that yours came out before mine. That's one thing that always happens too. As you get into the podcast community and you start like making friends with people, there's always the thing, like right now, I told you I did like 5 interviews on email, and everybody's we're doing a lot of stuff because our video is getting ready to come out and we're kind of ramping up again. When people do those like press pushes, they end up getting yeses from all these different podcasts. And normally it's within a week or 2 period. And the schedules of when they come out, sometimes they can clash. And I remember Dewey from Pure Pleasure and I, we were good buddies. And, there would be a time where we'd have like the same guest on, and we'd have to like talk to each other and go, okay, well, can you wait a week or 2 to put yours out? Because there's no point in us having the same guest the same week. So yeah, I totally get that, man. But dude, Chris and Elliot, just, I tried to keep it together. And before we started actually like recording, they're like, so you like really dig our band? I'm like, hell yes, I love your band.
Yeah. That was a true fanboy, because I did a 2-parter because I had Kevin, like I interviewed him like 2 hours before I interviewed Chris.
I had Chris and Kevin together.
I know.
It was
and it
hard.
was supposed to be that way, but it worked out so perfect that I got to truly fanboy out in a 4-hour session of two people that mean the world to me.
Yeah.
And people were like, dude, that was one of the best episodes I heard you do. I was like, yeah, because I couldn't keep it together.
Yeah.
It was really hard for me to just be like, yeah, no, I love you. Like after everything they say, it's like, no, I love you, and just keep going. But it's that just being genuine and having that opportunity to fanboy. I think people, as much as they want to say they shit on you for it, that's what people fall in love with.
Well, but I also think that the people that shit on you for it are jealous and can suck a dick. That's how I feel about that. So
yeah.
I mean,
well, okay.
I'm myself, and I'm going to be myself. And I think that any of those people that are giving me shit for fanboying out, if they had a chance to sit down with Fat Mike or with Trevor, Keith, or whoever, Chris Hanna from Propagandhi, that was hard for me because I'm the biggest Propagandhi fan in the world. But yeah, they're gonna do the same thing, and they're jealous, and they have to tear you down to make themselves feel better. That's it.
No, that's a fact. But
not trying to be a badass. I get so sick of people's opinions on my podcast.
Listen, let's end this show with you being a badass.
Okay.
All right. Let's do that.
I can handle myself if I have to.
Yeah. All right, good. I mean, you were willing to kill somebody, so
I don't have to handle myself anymore because my drummer is like 6'4" and 320 pounds. He will tear you up, man.
All right, so stay clear of Matt. So that's
and Matt Riddle. He's tiny, but he's fierce.
Yeah,
tiny is the bad word. I'm gonna say tiny. He's about my size. He's average height. Tiny sounds bad. I don't want to say my bass player is tiny. That's not correct.
He's Tom Cruise height.
If any bands out there want to challenge Fire Sale to a fight, just let us know when and where. We'll do
it. we'll set up the cage immediately.
Yes, the octagon.
Yeah, but listen, man, this was absolutely awesome. We're gonna go into our weekly 3 segment where it's 3 things that you're listening to right now that you'd like people to check out. And I definitely want to have you back.
Thanks, man.
When things kick off, and then we can start, throwing different people on, and maybe I can get on that list so we don't run into having the same people on the show and putting it out at the same time. So
I would like to tell everybody though, check out our new songs. They're streaming everywhere. And we have a new video coming out next month in June. When do you know when this will come out?
In June.
Okay. So I think June 9th is the date that the label has picked. So yeah, look for our video. And we just had a song, We Dance for Sorrow, added to Faction Punk over at Sirius XM. So if you guys subscribe to that, check it out and let us know if you hear us on there.
Awesome. Well, okay. So 3 things you're listening to right now that you would like people to check out.
Okay. Well, a constant for me is Thrice. They kind of never go away. I've liked everything they've ever done back in the day when they were a little bit more like snotty metal punk kids. And then they became like Deftonesy, Radiohead, avant-garde, whatever. Like I've liked everything Thrice has ever done. They did a reimagining of Artists in the Ambulance that just came out, and they've got guests on there from Architects, and like Chuck Reagan from Hot Water sings backups on a song. It's killer. I love it. Artists in the Ambulance is an amazing record, and I still love that record, but like this reimagining of it where they did it more of like a live feel. There's different tones and everything. It's amazing. So check that out. So that's number 1. One record that I cannot get away from and I can't get enough of is the new Alexis on Fire record. It's Otherness. I don't know. Have you heard that?
I have.
I love it. I have an Alexis tattoo. We did some touring with those guys. I'm so into that band, and it's just, it's crazy. I remember like seeing them play like an arena in Canada and then coming to Indiana and playing in front of like 50 people on the same tour. So it's weird because in Canada they're like mega stars, and down here they're starting to get a little bit bigger. I mean, I think City and Color is a little bit bigger than they are in the States. And I love the new City and Color record, but I'm not going to say that because I'm not going to have two Dallas influence things there going. So the third record, the new Lucero record, is killer. I love it so much. You should check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
And
awesome, man.
I know that's kind of weird, like Thrice, Alexis, and Lucero. I don't know if those fit together, but that's what I'm listening to.
It doesn't matter what fits together. It's what hits you at the time, right?
Yeah.
You know, mine are sometimes I've been all over the place. And this week could be a little all over the place too for me. But my first one is a band called The Day.
Okay.
They're Belgium by way of Germany, like dream pop band. The name of the album is Midnight Parade. Just if you're into that dream poppy stuff, which I get into sometimes because I'm getting ready for The Cure to come.
Hell yeah.
Watch them kill. So the next band is a band called Frown Line, Canadian shoegaze band. The name of the album is Come Around. Is Annika. She's like a 19-year-old who is, when you listen to it, you'll just be like, there's hope for awesome music in the future.
I love shoegaze stuff. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. And last but not least is a band called Stress Fractures, indie rock band from the Carolinas. They put out their self-titled album. It's indie, hardcore, post-hardcore, emo, pop. It's got something for everyone. But those are the three things that I'm listening to this week.
And they don't need any promo from me, but I do want to give honorable mention. The new Metallica record, 72 Seasons. Some people love it, some people hate it. They're 60-year-old dudes that are still writing crazy, awesome metal. I give it up to them. So I'm listening to that too. Not as much as the Thrice and the Lucero, but I like the new record, the new Metallica record.
All right, good. Yeah, they need as much help as they can get.
Yeah, because I mean, if I can help them sell a couple extra records, lining Lars's pockets even more.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good when you're 60 years old and you're writing stuff like that. I mean, I hope I'm doing stuff like that when I'm 60. So
hey, no, listen, I give them all the credit in the world all the time, man. Like, I'm excited to see them this summer. So I'm like, listen, again, yeah, like you said, they're 60 years old and they're still fucking putting out metal, and it's good metal, you know?
I mean, anything next to Saint Anger and Lulu is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard that record they did with Lou Reed, but it's unlistenable.
I did. It is and unnecessary.
But I will tell you one thing. The one thing that I've kind of torn that record apart trying to like it. I was not a Velvet Underground fan. I was not a fan of Lou Reed solo stuff, but I was like, oh, this looks like it could be cool. The music that they laid down, which just sounds like big jams, if like James sang over that and there was like an actual melody and it wasn't so avant-garde and freeform, it might be good. But it's Lou Reed speaking poetry about weird
Lou Reed
crap.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's what makes it. But, and then Saint Anger, I'll tell you my opinion on that. I'm glad the record happened. I think it saved the band, but it's the only one I don't own, and I never listen to it. But I'm glad it exists.
You are badass.
I'm badass. No, I'm not at all.
But Chris, thank you again so much for spending some time with us. It's been awesome. I love learning about you. This is why we do what we do. This has been an awesome conversation. Hope I made a new friend here today.
Yes, you did.
And everybody out there, you know what time it is. It's time to go out, listen to Fire Sale, and have a great fucking time.
Yeah.
Self-awareness, I'm in
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.